Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pwnery's Week in Review, episode 26. This is going to be our usual 5 stories of the week that we think are important, and we'll go around the room with personals, starting and closing, and just whatever seems to come up because we have a bad habit of tangenting off constantly. Surprisingly enough, I don't have Tony this weekend, but then again, he's pretty tired out from having to drive to another state and work on property constantly. So anyway, this week I have 2 panelists. I have Scott and I have Nightstrike, who is off making a bowl of oatmeal, so he'll probably be a little late. So anyway, I think that's working. I've been really trying to get more diligent about the layout that you're seeing here and the start and finish of the podcast, because obviously there's a delay and I'm trying to master timing it, so if it gets better then I'll know what to do next time, but it seems to always just be the same thing over and over. So let's start off with personals weeks in review. And if you want to start first, Scott, because I know you picked up a few things, you can go first.
Up another one of the What Would Stoner Do lowers in OD green. The KE Arms DMR trigger is freaking with a Geisley trigger any day.
And
it's that good.
You got something that goes on top of that.
Yeah, I kind of somewhat drunkenly ordered a Wolf T91 AR upper for it. That's piston drive.
I'm still in the market for one. I'd really like to have the 12.5 one, which apparently is becoming unicorn horns. I don't know if they're just not making them anymore, or if they're discontinuing them, or what, but those are the harder ones to find, because I've got a pistol lower ready to go.
Not that quick. They can't keep them in stock.
Yeah, I'd really like to have one, especially since I might be selling one of my 7.5s anyway. But let's see. I'm trying to organize my personals thing. Oh, okay. So let's start with my Savage. I got a 1907 pistol, as you guys know. It was given to me as a payment for working on 2 other pistols, which is fine. Like, I was cool with that. I didn't know how to value my work. And the guy says, well, why don't you just keep this then? And then he wrote me a bill of sale for it. So I thought, okay, cool. Didn't have a magazine. The only one I found was $100 plus shipping. Wasn't going to pay $100. So because of you, Scott, you sent me a link to another auction, and in that guy's items for sale, he had a 1907 magazine for $50. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to tempt fate. That's destiny that it was half price, so I bought it. And the guy was very accommodating. I think his gun broker name is 22 Rim. He's out in Florida. So I can at least tell you that I had a positive experience with that seller. Very good with communication. And he is willing to take personal checks, even though it says cashier's check or USPS money orders only. I reached out to him after I had won, and I said, listen, I work with another seller that takes checks too, or only takes checks, and I just ordered a whole new book of them. Is it cool if I send you one? You can ship after it clears, if that's okay with you. And he was like, yeah, it's cool, send it over. So it took an extra week, but there was a holiday in between too, so it all worked out. And I got my 10 shots quick, 10-shot Savage 1907 magazine. And first thing I did when I got home was rip open the package, pulled the thing out, loaded it with 10 rounds of, I think, MagTech, yeah. And that spring in there is tight. Like, I was able to put 9 rounds in it, easy. 10th round, what a bitch. I was like, Jesus, did anybody ever use this thing? So it feels like a new mag. It doesn't look like one, but I took a black paint pen and I painted the mag yesterday before I went to bed because it had like a raw finish and it wasn't in very good shape. And I just noticed that it rubs on the inside of the frame a bit, so some of the paint already came off. But it looks better than what I started with, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, I have a working Savage 1907 now. Quite happy with it. And I can carry it now. It's actually going to become part of my carry rotation because this came with a period correct leather thumb brake holster also, which I thought was really cool. I didn't know such things even existed for these, but it's got one, so I'll probably wear it Monday just for, shits and giggles or whatnot. So that worked out really good. I started cleaning part of my storage space where my guns go, and I ended up finding a 11.5 AR pistol that I completely forgot that I had. Totally built out. It's got Midwest Industries goodies on it. It's got a Criterion barrel on it. I did this one with a pineapple grenade spikes lower, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did buy that lower. I don't remember building the pistol that I built it to, but there it is. So once that came up, I decided that I needed to sort of trim down my herd just a bit, and I have a debt to Blue Phoenix that I need to resolve soon because I don't want to keep him hanging. But so I have a lady friend. She's the worst kept secret on this Discord. Like almost everybody knew why I invited her here, and she needed to see some specialists about a condition she picked up during Harvey, and they don't have the testing kits for them here in the United States, which is really bizarre. But given that this is usually something that you pick up in tropical environments anyway, uh, it wasn't likely to happen here. We had a tropical storm, hurricanes, things like that. I live near the coast. It is very warm. Plus, you have influxes of illegal aliens coming into the country from South America, so they might be bringing it with them, for all you know. So there's that. And I reached out to Phoenix because he lives in Korea, where I came from, where I hatched. And it is a well-known thing on that side of the world. So I asked him about it, and he's a unique individual. I don't know if it's Asperger's, but he has this condition where if you ask him to do something and put him to a task, he will see it through until it's complete without hesitation. Like, it becomes his focus and he just does it. And I only knew one other person like that. It's a friend that I have in the Netherlands, and he's like that too. And this guy was able to move heaven and earth faster than I thought possible. Not only did he find me 2 specialist doctors in the country who's willing to work with the doctors here, he also found the testing kits, which civilians aren't supposed to buy. But because he does translation work for the government and for like the medical industry, they worked with him. And I'm happy to say that those kits are actually going to be here either today or maybe tomorrow. I mean, I got them, here they are, this is what they look like. You thought you were only getting 2 kits, but each kit has 92 tests in it, and I'm like, holy crap. And then he's like, give me your address. Boom, he sent it off. I'm like, holy crap. So they're here. And he even translated all the instructions for how to calibrate the machine to test it. So I thought it was fantastic. So I gave it to her, she gave it to the doctors. And naturally, because the medical field in this country is atrocious garbage in terms of billing, charging you for money, and how little they communicate with you, we haven't heard back from them yet. Really irritating. Really irritating. So that got done. What else? I was trying to think of something else. Oh, I took down a couple of my wood and steel guns and put a couple of my modern ones on the wall. They barely fit because they're so short. compared to the milsurps. That was cool. What else do I got? I got my Amazon Christmas build list uh, because I assemble machines during the holidays for Amazon and Newegg. And usually their Christmas list comes in August. And then I have to build a certain number of pallets, get them out by a certain date so they have them in inventory so they can sell them. Well, they changed their platform about 2 years ago. And now what they do is they just ask me to make 20 to 50 machines like every week. So they just accumulate over time, which is fine. Except what ended up happening yesterday was 2 o'clock rolls around and I got this order for 12 that had to go out before I left for the day. Pull parts, organize them, unbox everything, put it together, rebox the new machine, label it with their special labels. If you get them out of order, they penalize you, and have them out the door. Well, 12 machines were done, ready to go, and on the dock by 2 minutes to 5, just as the UPS guy was pulling up. I'm like, holy crap. So I thought I would celebrate. Stopped on the way home from work, was going to pick up Christmas ale because it's the seasonal for this season. And for some reason, at my grocery store, they managed to find in the back of their warehouse a case of Oktoberfest, which I thought a couple weeks ago was the last ones I was going to have, until yesterday. So I bought it. They were dated August of 21, and I thought, they're probably okay. So I got home, I cracked one open, put it down. It did taste a little different. But by the end of it, I was already feeling it. And I'm like, oh, okay, it still works. Little did I know that I had 3 more before, or 3 more after that. Skipped dinner completely and had an early night. And I woke up with the absolute worst headache. I wonder why. So anyway, that got done. The only other thing I've really got going on is, I guess we'll get into that later. What'd you have for your personals week in review? Like anything interesting or special?
Just that one that I sent you that that grossed you out. Just that one. Because everything that happened this week, nothing could top that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. That was kind of ew. Before we went on air, we were sharing like emergency room horror stories, and he posted a really good one. Let's just say it. Yeah. One time in band camp, this girl played with a 57mm mortar. Anyway, let's see. What do we got here? Well, we don't have a lot of personals this week, so I guess that's cool. I want to start with a basic question this time before we get into the stories of the day. And I suspect that today's episode will be a little short because the stories I have we're probably going to get through relatively quickly, and I've got a lot of new stuff to record. I guess I could share that too.
A lot of stuff happened this week, and then a lot of stuff didn't happen. You know?
Yes. So yesterday, if you follow my penny arcades, I do a series on Sunday called Kicking It Old School, where I pick games from my youth. Usually from like the 80s and 90s, usually console, some PC games. I have to get some emulators to work with some of the older PC games, DOSBox and whatnot. But I did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1989 version for the NES. And I had done it in anticipation for a game that Retro Gamer 3, Ed Finley, was going to remaster. He, if you don't know who he is, he's a... Well, I don't know what his day job used to be, but I know what he's doing now is full-time. He would remaster from scratch games from your youth that he thought had a fatal flaw in it, that it could have been better had they made a few changes. So, for instance, yesterday's release was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Reshelled, which is what he calls it, but it's a remake and remaster of the original Ninja Turtles. And part of what makes what he does brilliant is he owns the licensing rights to these. There's no legality issue. And he's able to take... Yeah, sort of. He ends up using sprites and soundtracks from the entire family of games that came before it. So, for instance, in the video I did yesterday for it, I call it the first 30. I ran into Bebop, which is the warthog, if you remember Ninja Turtles.
Mhm.
And the sprite he used was actually from TMNT2, the arcade game, which came out a year later for NES. So he mixes and matches original sprites with later versions sprites and soundtracks. And then sometimes he even writes his own soundtracks and puts them in there because there isn't like a modern remaster of the older, cube synthesizer, whatever they used to call that. So he would make
Right.
his own sometimes. So he's part programmer, part graphic artist, part musician in a way. And then he arranges them in such a way that it's a fluid, playable game. And a lot of the elements of it will remind you of the original game. So if you saw my review or my video yesterday, you'll see how it looks. He also did Castlevania 3, I think. I think he did Castlevania 3. I know he did Castlevania 2. He calls it Rebitten. He redid Faxanadu, which, in all honesty, he always looks for a flaw in a game to redo it. There was nothing wrong with Faxanadu, and he admits that. He just made it bigger, and it's amazing.
My argument would be the whole game was flawed. That's true.
Well,
That wasn't fun.
the fog textures are weird, but like the way that
Exactly.
the game plays, it was very, very polished, the original. But
Oh,
either way, he did that. He remastered Friday the 13th, which that game was crap on NES. And
actually,
he made it playable.
that reminds me. I heard a really good remix the other day of a game,
Hmm.
and it made me play through the whole game again.
That happens to me
Uh,
sometimes.
I heard a remix of the original game that would have become Terminator, but they lost the rights to it, so it was Journey to Sillies.
Oh, Acclaim?
No, it was Sunsoft.
I mean, Acclaim was the original holder, right? And then they passed it over?
No. Sunsoft got the license to make the Terminator game for the NES,
Okay.
and then halfway through the development, they lost the rights to the license
Mm.
because they apparently, I don't know what it was, but apparently they didn't meet a deadline, and the person who was leasing them the rights decided to go and give it to somebody else, and they
Oh,
didn't
because
finish
they
it
didn't meet
for
the
like
deadline.
a year or
Back
two,
to somebody.
Yeah.
a year or two later.
Hmm.
So they just decided they had to redo the whole entire game, and the storyline.
Didn't that sort of happen to Duke Nukem Forever?
Yeah, but Duke Nukem Forever took 12 years.
Yeah. Vaporware Champion Emeritus is what it was titled for years.
Even though Duke Nukem Forever was not a great game, it was filled with nostalgia, and I enjoyed it, and I
Mhm.
still enjoy it to this day.
Mhm.
It's just I'm not going to say it's a great game, and anybody that expected that game to be great, they should have just expected it to be nostalgia because that's all it was.
Yeah. So I've got the uh, Grand Theft Auto Definitive Editions where they were remastered, and they were like, oh yeah, they're graphic remasters using the GTA 5 engine. And I'm like, oh, I want to see this, right? Because I never played GTA 3, and I never played San Andreas, and I never
Vice City
played
was
4.
where was that? Vice
I
City.
played Vice City a lot. But the thing that I remembered back in those days was the graphics were amazing, the gameplay was amazing. And then I got a copy of Vice City for PC before the Definitive Edition, loaded it up, hit the button, and it was like a really bad case of Never Meet Your Heroes. I was like, what is this crap? Like, it was blocky and clunky. There was no shaded textures. There's obviously no ray tracing. The hands were just like big blobs with like little lines drawn in them. I'm like, this is garbage. So when the Definitive Edition came out, I jumped on it.
That was the early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, I jumped onto the definitive ones, the remasters, and I fired up GTA 3 because I never played it before. The lighting and the textures are better. I can't deny that. But it's still kind of clunky with the fists that are just giant sausages, So I'm like, well, I'll forgive it if the story's good. And I've thought about recording those, but I haven't really gotten around to it. And then after I got reshelled, I was like, oh, I got to do at least 5 of these. And this morning in my inbox, I received a key and a copy to a game called Icarus. I think that's what it's called. Let me pull it up real quick. It's called...
Don't fly too close to the sun.
Well, it's not that. It's called... Crap, I forgot the name of it.
Well, check your email, dude.
It's a PvE game. It's got a subtitle to it. It's Icarus something. But anyway, it's essentially Fallout, is from what I understand.
Oh, that's the one I posted.
Well, I got a key for it this morning.
Discord in it.
So,
well, somebody link me to this game because it sounds like something I would want to play because I seriously love the Fallout.
Yeah, and this is like, if I remember right, the way it was described to me was you're a couple of settlers who land on a planet where the terraforming has gone horribly wrong. And I guess you've released whatever latent creatures were on that planet. So not only do you have to land there, you have to build up enough resources to get back off of there in a set amount of time, or you're overrun and killed. So it sort of reminds me of like Fallout meets, or not, sorry, like Fallout 4 meets RimWorld in a way.
Yeah.
But it's from the perspective of first-person view, which is great. So we'll see how that plays out. I got to do that one. My inbox gets hit with tons of keys, so it's like I see these things and I'm like, okay, I'll do this one, or okay, I won't do this one. The real pleasant surprise was the one that I got called Wife Quest. It was hilarious. That game was hilarious.
I saw that.
Like I thought it was.
Why you think that's hilarious?
Well, as soon as I saw the title in my email, I thought, waifu laifu, this is going to be stupid. But I gave it a fair shake, and it pushes all the right platformer nostalgia buttons. You know, it's a hack and slash platformer. So I thought...
It's 2D, right?
Yeah, it's 2D.
Yeah.
But it's really well done. And, like, the color palette that they chose was good. The soundtrack that they chose was good. Like, everything was good. And so, surprisingly... Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, 5 episodes popped out in no time flat. I was like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I haven't even beaten the game yet, because I try to stop short of the end so people actually have a reason to go buy it and play it themselves. I don't unlock all the secrets either, because I want the audience to go figure it out. I don't want to just spoon feed the whole game to them.
Have you played Sea of Thieves?
Yes.
I love that game. The latest DLC they've added to the game.
Yeah.
It's fun as hell.
So it's like
it's better when you have a full crew instead of just like one person.
Yeah. So I got that one. I got the Icarus one. I've got I got this game called Star Sand, which I think is another sort of survival thing, sandbox type thing. I got this one called Tunnel of Doom. And when I saw the file size for it, I thought this can't possibly be any good. It was only 33 megabytes. I was like, no way, right?
Well, they're compressing it hardcore.
No. So get this. If you've ever done Super NES emulating and you get like any Super NES ROMs, they're small. They're like anywhere between 1 to 5 megabytes. They're not very big, right? So like A Link to the Past. That was the first Super Nintendo Zelda, right? Where it starts off with the rain and whatever. Anyway, Tunnel of Doom is drawn exactly like that. And the file size, obviously, is about 5 times bigger than the original SNES ROM. So I thought, oh, what a pleasant surprise. So I'll probably do a 5-episode series on that too, just because it's my flavor. Like, I like that. It's very throwbacky. And it didn't feel like a tiny game. So like, I got to do that one too. And I started getting the digital remasters of Final Fantasy, like 3, 4, and 5 and all that again. Maybe I'll do those, I'm not sure. Anyway, so I was going to lead up to a question. Have you ever sat in a room and looked around your surroundings and go, how in the hell am I going to organize all this chaos? So this part of the room I'm in is
all the time.
where I do my YouTube studio stuff, right? But above me and behind me are where most of my reloading and milsurp stuff is. And if any of y'all know, I've been keeping up with what I've been doing this year, my milsurp collection has grown immensely. You know, SHOT Show came out, it was virtual. The only thing I was interested in, I think, this year was the um, Keltec, what do they call it? P50?
Yeah,
I was
I'm
interested in that,
too.
but they've price gouged it to death.
Yeah, they price gouge. It's like,
So there's that.
it doesn't cost you that much to make it, but you're just trying to get. You're
Well,
trying
it's
to
the
get as much
retailers
out
that are
of a
selling it that much.
P90 for a handgun. I'm like, no.
Well, I mean, okay, so Keltec says that the MSRP on it was like 900, which I could pay 900 for that, sure. But I'm seeing it online for twice that. Price gouging.
I know. I went to the gun show.
Hmm.
Most of the guys at the gun show this last weekend were selling it for like anywhere between 1,100 to like 1,600.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not worth that much. Half the damn thing is plastic and screws.
It's exclusivity. That's what it is. They think that somebody will pay it because it's available and you want it, so you'll pay what they're asking. But they will too. That's the problem. Somebody will, which justifies the cost, and then every following gun after that will start at that price. Because,
Guys, sorry I'm late.
well, it's whatever the market can bear, and because the outliers are still willing to pay those prices, all the regular people are stuck with them, which sucks. So there was that one, there was the Anaconda, and then that was it. And then this year I had proceeded to buy 10 milsurp rifles? I think 10. Yeah. And then a couple of pistols. So I didn't get my Anaconda, but I got a bunch of other goodies.
I wasn't expecting to buy any guns this year.
I wasn't either, honestly.
Then I got like I built the PSA dagger
Mhm.
because I got the frame, and then I just built the slide for it because they didn't have any slides, and they were out of stock on the full complete gun. So just got the frame with the trigger group, and then I bought a Polytech instead of an M1A because Blue Screen Field Armory.
Yeah.
But still, it's the same thing. And I lucked into that Mosin, which I got a new stock for. It looks perfect now. I did replace the firing pin spring because it was old. It was like the original one, and it was old and stiff.
I don't know. My milsurp Avalanche, I want to say this year started with the Vetterli Vitali. I'm pretty sure I got that.
Finally
this year.
got that Vetterli Vitali.
Yeah, I think that's the one that started it. And then
for those that don't know, Sean, forever. This is like been like a
2017.
This has been a 3 or 4 year. No,
4 years.
2017.
Yeah.
It's been a 4 or 5 year endeavor of him trying to get a Vetterli Vitali because me and him were at a gun show at one point looking for them, and
We
I'm
were
like,
at the gun show.
I found 1 or 2 of them, and he's like, I can't spend any more money.
Yeah.
After I pointed out another rifle that was on his list.
Yeah. Grenade fire emergency use Enfield.
I was like, Sean, check that out. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And he's like, damn it, Nice Strike. You're about to make me spend money.
Yep. Raphael thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like, aren't you going to buy something? He's like, nope, I ain't falling into that trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's what
guys?
started it. What's up, Tony?
Hey, Tony.
That one was followed by the Swiss 89, which was followed immediately by the Dutch Beaumont Vitali. I figured if I had one of those weird magazines, I might as well have both. Then I got the Type 38 Teacher's Rifle, Arasaka, which I just got a bayonet for a week ago. And then I started collecting Mausers. So I got a Swedish Mauser, a Siamese Mauser, a Turkish 8805-35 Mauser.
I just found a bayonet for my Polytech M14, the M6 bayonet.
Yeah.
I finally found it.
I think the best milsurp I got deal-wise this year was my Mosin PU Sniper, only because of how little I got it for.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I got the Berthier pretty cheap too. Those are pretty expensive. I think I got it for like $210, $220. Granted,
my
it's missing a front sight, and the last 6 inches of the stock are missing, but details.
Yeah, the best deal I got this year was probably be my Type 53 M44. 250. That's a pretty good price.
That's a good price.
Considering the Mosin prices.
I paid $50 for a Berthier 5-shot clip because nobody had them.
Ow!
And wouldn't you know it?
It wouldn't fit.
No, it fits. This week, some son of a bitch has 5 original 8mm Lebel rounds in a 5-shot clip for $30. Naturally, I was like, yoink.
Buy it.
Oh, I bought it. Goddamn right, I bought it.
Just because somebody else is selling a different one doesn't mean you ignore it and you overlook it. Buy it, take the hit, and move on.
Well, see, the problem I've got right now is female, obviously, but it's only because I'm willing to do things for said female that's costing me quite a bit. So when I talked to my old man about those testing kits and I told him how much it cost, he goes, "Well, at least you didn't buy a gun with it." But anyway, I'm actually looking at now, I don't know why I want this, but I want it. Japanese Type 18 Murata rifle. There's no way in hell I'm going to find ammo for this thing, ever. But if I do, I will shoot it. I got that going on.
The one Japanese rifle I want, I can't get because it's the M1 Garand copy they tried to make with the with the internal magazine and everything.
Oh.
You know that prototype?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to get my hands on it because apparently they destroyed all the other ones.
Well, I mean, that'd be like me wanting a Johnson rifle. I
Right,
want one. I just can't justify it.
Right. No, same. Yeah.
So I'm working on a Murata and a what's the other one? Oh, yeah, the 2A1 Enfield in 7.62 308, basically. Because it's got a squared off magazine and it's in really good shape, so I'm probably going to jump on that too. And then some asshole, who will remain unnamed, sent me a link to a German Jaeger pistol. Which
Scott, why did you do that?
No, he didn't do it. But that's the one that's all stamped steel pieces screwed together. Althias did a video on it once, and I thought, wow, that's a fascinating pistol. I'd like to have it. Problem is for what they're asking for, I can have the 2A1 and the Murata rifle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend that much. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
What I'm looking at right now, I'm looking to get a M1 carbine, and I'm looking for either a used and abused one I can take out range,
Classic.
or no, I'm not paying $1,200. So
Jaime's brother-in-law got one, and actually, what was funny was he sent me pictures, and he goes, "I thought these were supposed to be professionally refurbished." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "This thing is beat to hell." He sent me pictures, and I was like, "That's actually in really good shape. What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
I'm gonna get where I got my Polytech. I'll probably get it off Arms List because you can find deals off Arms List.
If I get an M1 carbine, it has to be a paratrooper.
I'm probably gonna get a universal instead of an original, just because the fact that universal is cheaper.
Yeah.
I just want one to shoot. I don't care who makes it.
I want the paratrooper one. I have to have that folding wire stock. That's what makes it cool.
But you can just buy the stock.
I know. It's just I have other things I want to do to it. So like I've been in Russ's ear for the better part of 2 years, and the goal is, because he's already done some of the research and legwork.
Right.
I want to rechamber an M1 paratrooper carbine in 5.7. Now the overall length of the round is close to the 30 carbine.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And basically all he said he's going to need is a barrel blank. He can do the machine work. And it should be able to use the same magazines, but he might have to make me a different floor plate. And I thought, that'd be cool. I'd be really happy with that.
Awesome.
But then again, everyone's talking about 4.6 now. Recently, it's funny. Like VSO put out a couple of videos recently, right? And it was about the new 4.6 round. And I'm like, it's not new. The MP7's used it for years.
Yeah, right.
But then all of a sudden it hit me.
The civilian market.
Yeah, it hit me. CMMG makes a Banshee in that caliber now. There are certain manufacturers that are making AR uppers in that caliber now. And then I thought, wait a minute. H&K is not the type of company that would leave money on the table. They just came out with that SP5, right? And they're charging, what, almost $3,000 for it? Of course they're going to make a semi-auto MP7 one of these days. Like, without a doubt. Because they're not going to let money just not, they're not going to leave it on the table. If they can make $4,000 off of idiots willing to buy one, they will make it.
They will do it.
And I will get in line and buy one because I'm an idiot.
Mm-hmm. Grade A idiot. Right?
Grade A. Under A. But yeah, I'd totally have one.
We're going to give you the A because honestly, you get an E forever.
I'm trying to plan my purchases for next year because I know the way things are going with the misses that acquisitions are going to become very few and far between afterwards. So what I'll probably do is I'm in the process of I'm trying to build an 8 to 9 pound 12.5 308 AR-10, like a CQB version, right? And I've got a polymer 80 lower that I'm going to build out for it. And then I got a Moriarty Armaments 12.5 upper with the pepper pot break. I need to finish that.
You did make sure those two mate, right?
They do. It's the same. It's the same pattern.
All right.
But that's a good point that you brought up for people
because not all AR-10 parts are mil spec or interchangeable because that's the one rifle that all the manufacturers decided they just screw with.
Well, so far in my experience, there's the two types, right? So there's the SR25 type. I forgot what it's called.
And then there's the DPMS type.
Yes, and I think that's the one I've got. I think that's what the Arrow receivers are too, if I'm not mistaken. But they're called
and then there's a third type where it's a mixture hybrid proprietary type like PSA has.
Oh, theirs is proprietary?
Yes, it's proprietary. They say you can use some DPMS parts, but the upper and lower are proprietary.
That's kind of sneaky.
So, just be aware on that.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky when I built my first one. I mean, it's 19 pounds, which people look at me like I'm a retard when I say that, but it's a 24-inch barreled AR-10. It's got what they call the M2 heavy barrel profile, so it's chunky. And then if I put a Magpul D50 on it, loaded, 19-pound gun, just as long as an M60 E4 also. So the sling.
AR-10
thick.
is on my list. It's on my list, but I'm looking at possibly getting a FAL before getting an AR-10 just because.
That seems to be really popular these days.
I want a FAL. So.
I'd like to have an L1A1.
See, what I'd like to do is I'd like to get a FAL, then I get an AR-10, and then I can do a video on 308 battle rifles because I'd have Polytech, the M1A, I'd have the SETME, the FAL, and the AR-10. That would be a great video to do. But I don't have all those rifles, so I have got to get them.
I like the way you think. They're all your Pokemons. That's the way it works for me.
I like 308, okay? I like 308. Yeah, it's expensive as hell. Yeah, I complain about it all the time when I buy it, but I still buy it.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so the majority of my milsurps that are Mauser derivatives, I've got a lot of 6.5s. Like, a lot. I didn't realize it until I started loading them. I thought, wait a minute, these are all 6.5 rifles.
Well, my goal is to have just as many 308s as or 30 caliber rifles as I do 5.56 because I've got tons of ARs.
I mean, Tony did the same thing with what was it, Remington 700s, right?
Look at where I live. I live at 556 Central.
Yeah.
So it's not hard. I trip over an AR-15 every time I go in gun stores. So it's not like they're not available there. But it's just like I'd like to have different other guns because eventually I got bored of the AR-15. Okay, I'm still keeping my AR-15s, but I get bored of them because I've got so many of them. I don't really want to shoot them all the time because it gets boring shooting the same rifle all the time.
That's why you do it in different calibers, like I do.
So I went and got I got an AK. Well, first I got the SKS, then I got the AK, and love the AK better. and I've progressively got other guns too, and of my favorites are the 30 caliber. Like, even though I complain about not being able to find ammo all the time, I love my M1 Garand.
We have got to work on your. We've got to work on your stance though. Like, I notice you when you stand there with your rifle, you lean heavily on your back foot, and every time you fire, it rocks you backwards.
I'm fat.
That's okay. Just lean forward.
I'll lean forward, all right? That's my first time shooting the rifle. Get over it.
All right. Just saying. Like, it was funny watching it because it was like, those like punching bag inflatable clowns with the weighted base, and you punch it on the top and it would sway back and then come back forward. Every time you shot, I saw you sway back and come back forward. I thought, he's on the wrong foot.
I really didn't see him doing that when he was shooting at 4570.
That 4570 kicked like a mule.
I love those things.
Behind him.
I love those things. I take my 4570 to the indoor range on purpose.
Tony was standing behind me, bracing me from falling on my ass. That's what he was doing.
I'll stand back there and catch the gun if you happen to drop it.
And that's a 28-incher too.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have dropped that. No.
Like,
Ooh, no.
Mine's got an 18, so it's like it's a firm shove. But
Tony, that was fun firing. That was awesome. Thank you.
I've actually got a Chapter 2 reloading video coming for 4570. People have been asking me, because I put out that one episode like 4 or 5 years ago, and people are like, where's Chapter 2? It says Part 1 for this one, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do a Part 2, because originally it was going to be brass cased with full metal jacket rounds, and that was going to be Part 1, and then Part 2 was going to be nickel plated brass with lead cast bullets. But I ended up just doing both in the same video. I was like, screw it, I'll just do them now. And then I found out that the limitations of the Marlin 4570 can only take a bullet of a certain length and weight, and there's bigger weights. Well, the guy that I get my cast bullets from, he has the same rifle I do, and he said, hey, I've got these 500 grain gas checked round nose bullets that I make. It's got 7 lube grooves, and it chambers in the Marlin. And I said, send it. So he did. So I got 2 boxes of that, but I don't have any brass. All my brass is loaded, which means I have to go and take my gun and shoot it a few times so I can have some empty ones. Then I can do a Chapter 2. Definitely want to. I don't know. Once upon a time, I don't know when this started, but every gun I have at the time, I shoot. I was like, I don't buy them to look at them. I buy them to shoot them. And somewhere along the way, probably around 2017, I began collecting guns that I haven't even shot yet to this day. And now the number of guns that I have the guns that I have that I haven't shot outnumber the guns that I have that I do shoot by a lot. You were saying that you can't walk into a store without tripping over an AR. I can't walk through my bedroom without tripping over an AR.
Right, but I can't go into my gun safe without tripping over an AR.
Yeah.
I've got tons of them.
I ran into the same problem you did about the caliber thing. They're all the same. Yeah. My first one was a 16-inch carbine, 223 Wild. My second one was
Mine was 5.56, but I'm not shaming you.
The second one was the 7.5-inch, and then also I think that one's also 223 Wild. So it takes both. Then I figured, let's do something a little different. I like the platform. They're easy to build, so 16-inch 458 SOCOM, 12.5-inch 50 Beowulf, and then George wanted me to build him a few, so I built him 3 or 4, and I ended up building myself the 11.5-inch Midwest pistol. And then I built him a 7.5-inch, we called it the Dookie pistol, because it's all FDE. And when I was done with it, like, it's got an SBPDW brace, it's got the aim point, I think it's called a T2, and then a Surefire light, and a Fab AFG, and like, it's pretty decked out. I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. Handed it to him. He plays with it for about 3 minutes, and he goes, "This turned out really nice." I said, "Good, I'm glad you like it." And then he hands it back to me, and he goes, "Merry Christmas." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Well, you built me all the other ones." He was like, "I want you to keep this one." So I have 2 of the same gun, just in different colors, slightly arranged differently. But I totally get that I have too many of the same thing, for sure. That's why I was venturing off into other calibers. And I talked to Lilja, I think it was. And I'm still considering doing this. It really depends. Like, I've got to figure out how much spending money I'm going to have soon, because I'm not going to have much, especially with a woman. But Rare Breed came out with that Samurai lower, color filled. I think it's gorgeous.
Sure, it's Rare Breed.
Well, yeah. Wait, is it?
I think you mean somebody else.
It's either Sharps Brothers or Rare Breed or whatever. They make
Rare
the Samurai
Breed
lower.
Did the Force reset?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know Spikes distributes it. And anyway, doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure it's Sharps Brothers that makes the receivers. But it's got a Samurai helmet, like a Shogun helmet. And it's all red and black and gold. It looks really cool. And so I figured, you know what? I'm going to get the upper and lower for that with the handguard that's all red and yellow and gold. And I'm going to wrap the forend in paracord, sort of like the samurai sword hilt or grip, right? And then like the grip itself.
That sounds really bad. You know what? You know what kind of bayonet you get?
Yes.
A Tonto style bayonet.
Yeah, I got to put a wakizashi on the end.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is like
you have to at that point.
I have to figure out a way to get some ray skin, because that's what they used for the grips, and then they wrap it in what's essentially like paracord, right? So I want to do that for the grip and the forend. And then I talked to Lilja and I said, "Can you make me a 16 to 20 inch barrel chambered in 6.5 Arasaka?" And I showed them the rifle that I wanted to build, and they said, "We will absolutely do this if you want to." I'm like, awesome. So next year, after I'm done with my Anaconda Python and my 10.5-inch or 12.5-inch AR-10, that may be the only gun I build for the rest of that year, just because I think it'd be cool. An Arasaka AR, come on.
And just because you probably be paying that anyway.
I think it would just be cool.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying that they said yes, but that also comes with the higher price.
Of course. I mean, the 24-inch barrel that I bought from them for my 308, it was like $700. But that's just, the good things cost money, and you only got to buy it once, so I'm not going to put that many rounds through it to wear it out.
I was talking to Storm and Norman Gunworks, and we were coming up with weird ideas because I can't find ammo for my M1 Garand. He's like, "Well, you know what we could do? We could get a clapped out M1 Garand. We could rebarrel it for 8mm Mauser because same case head, and you could just have an 8mm Mauser Garand." And I'm like, that sounds really
Wait
heretic.
a minute. You can't find 30-06 for it because the commercial stuff is loaded too hot, right?
No, I get my ammo from PSA. Remember?
Yeah, but I mean, like the military, was it M2 ball?
I don't know if you've seen PSA shelves lately, but their ammo shelves are literally empty.
I'm just saying, like, I know M2 ball is loaded differently than standard 308.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I can use either because I've got a adjustable gas button.
Okay, that's what I was leading into that. I was like,
You know,
if you could just get the adjustable and be perfectly
but
fine.
every time I've gone to PSA henceforth lately,
Yeah.
ammo shelves have been half full to the point they started stocking other items where the ammo used to be.
Because they can't
That's how
keep them
bad
full.
because they can't keep them full. And the only ammo they've had other than 30-06 was 8mm Mauser.
Well, you know what Tony and I are going to tell you, right?
Get a gun of 8mm Mauser. That's
No. Load your
Fuck
own.
no.
Make your own 308.
There are other places besides PSA that might sell 30-06 ammo too.
I've checked those places too. They don't have it either.
That or they're perilously expensive. Honestly, I would just load your own.
Yeah.
No shit.
Because you can get that. You can get 30-06 reloading prices down to, realistically, like after you bought the brass the first time, the second reloading, you could probably get it down to like 50 cents a round, maybe less.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long.
Have for bullets.
Hmm?
So it depends on what you have to have for bullets.
Well, I mean, 308 bullets are super common.
Right. But I mean, you know, there's cheap bullets and there's bullets.
Oh yeah. Like I would totally subscribe to the like Midway's factory seconds or whatever just for blinking ammo. I'd totally do that.
Shit.
I may have to.
Like I'm not gonna
I don't-
MOA queen like Patrick and buy nothing but Sierra Match Kings.
I don't reload just because I don't have a place for it.
You say that, but you got to remember my first video is reloading in tight spaces. If you have 30 inches of room, you can reload.
I know. I'm making.
You're making the same excuses that some of my friends make to not take the plunge to buy their first firearm. There's like a hesitation, but once you get it, you're done. Like you don't have to buy it again.
The reloading equipment don't take up space to speak of at all. It's the fucking stuff.
It's the
The
cost of the
supplies.
equipment and the supplies.
The thing that's annoying most about reloading parts now is the kit is half the price it was when I bought in. That's really irritating. But yeah,
Fucking
primers, powder,
situation, bitch.
always a problem. Always a problem. Thanks, Joe.
I'm
Oh,
just-
speak of the devil. I got to
don't-
thank
don't-
Biden.
Do not speak of him because he will appear.
I got to thank him at the pump again yesterday to the tune of $64.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Why
Look,
you
we
buy a
don't all
whole
drive
car?
Suburbans with 44-gallon saddle tanks.
You don't got a saddle tank. It's in the ass.
Well, okay, that's right. The Suburban's in the back. The
It's
point
in the
is, you know, I said this before, and I'll bang this drum to the rest of my life. But the day before the last election, I paid $19 to fill my tank. Now it's $64. I'm not making 3 times more money, so why am I paying 3 times
shit.
more for everything else?
Because the Democrats want to, tax you into the poorhouse
Yeah,
so they can control you.
that's
This
it.
isn't taxes. This is something else going on.
Yeah, this is
Yeah, not knowing how to properly handle the economy. Oh yes,
well.
it is. It's a tax. It's a tax by stupidity.
All right, so before we get into the stories of the day, we can definitely touch on this.
Biden's stupidity.
Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, has been re-upped, right, by
Right.
Joe Biden. But the thing is I think this is all by design because if the economy continues going the way it goes and goes into the toilet, then Biden and his party can blame Jerome Powell, who was originally a Trump-appointed chairman. See, they have saved a Trump appointee to lay all the blame and turn him into a pariah. We didn't do it, he did it. And now you're going to re-elect the guy who put him there? Guaranteed. That's coming. Bet. Anyway, you're right. And the thing is I talk to my mentor after work on the phone every day, and we had this thought that there's a reason why articles of impeachment have not been brought up against Joe Biden. And it's simple. It's multifaceted, but the facets are simple. The first foremost thing
They have to take
is
Cyrus out with him.
yeah, think who takes over.
And then
And then
they'd
if
have
you
to take
take
out
her out,
Pelosi and Schumer.
exactly, because that's third and fourth in line.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after that's Jerry Nadler.
Yeah, and no one wants Mr. Shit himself on national television.
Exactly. So it's like he's the least dangerous of the five in that group. And you don't have enough votes in the House anyway. Even if you go to 2022 and there's like a landslide sweep, right? And they take control of the House and the Senate, they've effectively just hamstrung Biden's agenda for the next 2 years.
Which is not so bad.
Which is not so bad. But they still won't bring up articles of impeachment, despite the fact that they have a slam dunk. What if I were to tell you that you could charge the President of the United States with articles of impeachment under the basis that he is deliberately and nefariously undermining national security? How?
And so you're probably right.
This is how. Or this is how you sell it. He, on his first day in office, shut down the Keystone XL pipeline. The numbers have slowly trickled in, and they are right where the estimates were. Almost 100,000 people in drilling or support or logistics industries based off of that pipeline closure. 100,000 people lost their jobs on day one. Insanity.
I heard it was a million.
Well, 100,000 for sure. 50,000 were just the pipeline people. So let's just use that as a basis. Now he wants to close a second pipeline that goes right through Michigan, which is it's like Keystone Jr. in a way. And then he turns around and blames domestic oil producers for price fixing and gouging. And in the same breath, begs an international oil cartel from the Middle East, who actually is price fixing, to produce more oil, even though the year before we were a net exporter of oil. They were mad at us because we were like, we don't need your shit anymore. And now all of a sudden you've got this bumbling idiot in charge demanding and begging that they produce more oil.
He's also the same idiot that stopped all fracking in the country, too.
Yeah.
I cannot believe you guys are so harsh on poor old Joe Biden.
Listen,
Yeah, well,
he had a
You know what?
colonoscopy recently.
my response is, get over it, Grandpa.
He had a colonoscopy recently at fucking, what was it? I forgot the name of the Walter Reed Hospital, right?
Right.
Now they have a machine that looks like a roto-rooter. Would it have been beneficial if they just accidentally used a roto-rooter instead? That would have solved all our problems.
Wouldn't it? Because that would have put Kamala in the office.
Well, anyway, that's the first way I think that
she
he's.
was for about a day.
That's the first way that I think that you can prove that he has undermined national security. Do you remember just before Thanksgiving they were talking about he was releasing 50 million barrels of oil from the strategic reserves?
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
Okay, he did. But here's the thing. He released what they call sour crude, which is not used for the production of gasoline. It's for other things. It's an industrial use type fuel, oil, or whatever. You use light sweet crude to make fuel. It's more efficient to do. Anyway, you notice right after Thanksgiving they stopped talking about it? And you notice that the gas prices didn't drop at all? Because this country uses 18.2 million barrels per day. He released 50 million. That's 2 days and 5 hours worth of oil. Of course that wasn't going to do anything. And now he just released 50 million barrels from his own strategic reserves, further undermining the country. And then there's the topic of the border, or the lack of enforcement at the border. He is allowing hundreds of thousands of criminal invaders. Don't call them migrants. Don't call them illegal immigrants. They are criminal invading armies because they fly different flags. They're a coalition army of invaders. They don't, according to Biden's own mask lapdog, they don't count and don't require vaccines or testing. But you do.
Now, let me give you something to think about on the fuel thing or oil thing. What would you say if I told you I thought that this was a ploy to force people into buying electric cars?
There's no such thing.
Probably right.
There's no such thing, Tony.
I'm
No. Here, let me draw you a picture. There's no such thing as an electric car. You know that idiot meme thing where it's some loser in a minivan that says birds aren't real, they're surveillance drones from the government. You've seen that, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to give you something on the same basis. There is no such thing as an electric car because I have personally seen a Tesla on the side of the road with a Tesla service Ford Transit van with a diesel generator hanging off the back, charging the batteries of a Tesla to get it off the road. There's no such thing as an electric car because nobody seems to think where the electricity comes from. And the
The
majority of
logistical
the power in this
inequities-
country is still produced by coal and natural gas.
The logistical inequities of their plan do not fucking matter to them.
Right.
Yeah, in order to power this whole country off of electric vehicles, you need to build twice as many nuclear reactors as there are right
That's fine.
now. If because what Sean didn't mention is that not only is Biden screwing over the gas industry, but he's also shutting down all coal power plants too.
Well, he's trying to.
And if we don't have those coal power plants to offset the nuclear reactors, well, guess what? We don't have no damn power, so we get the rolling blackouts like California does all across the nation. Now,
I had 'em
the minute
last
my
winter.
my power goes out and it doesn't come back on, I have to get the generators out because
Mhm.
I have generators for that kind of thing. Not
Mhm.
everybody does, and if that happens more than if that happens like every freaking month, people are gonna get sick of that real fast, and they're gonna be looking for who's responsible.
A
And
little
guess what?
fucking late
It's
by
Joe.
the time that happens.
No, that's the point. That is the point.
Well, California banned 2-cycle engines for lawn equipment, right? What do most
people still
generators
have 'em.
run off of?
Oh, most generators 4-stroke.
Well,
Yeah.
they're still running. There's still a gas engine. They're going to want to get rid of it.
Yeah, generators are on that list.
Do you remember, like, Scott and Night Strike, you grew up to this like I did.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they were selling the idea that natural gas was the energy of the future and it was efficient and clean burning and all this shit? And now all of a
Yeah.
sudden the left is
It's not.
like, we have to shut down natural gas plants, they're terrible for the earth. How did that narrative change all of a sudden?
The left has gotten way wackier. That's just it.
And then you look at things like the infrastructure bill, right?
First they support it. First it's a new technology. It sounds cool, so they support it.
Right.
And then because it becomes old, and they don't really care about it, and then they go on to supporting something else instead and completely, throw it by the wayside.
Because they're not getting their palms
because
greased by that industry anymore.
No, and it doesn't matter what party it is. It happens all the damn time.
Right. Interest groups and greasing palms.
Mm-hmm.
So that what I'm saying is you can attack this in so many facets.
I know.
The energy
I know.
industry, the immigration thing. You can even say that he's deliberately hamstrung the logistics industry in this country. Remember, I told you guys like a week or two ago, I have a friend who works on 18-wheelers. He's got 90 plus trucks in his lot waiting for parts, U-joints, ECUs, simple small parts that are apparently short. And it's like
Right.
90 trucks just in his one shop in one state. Imagine 50 states with 5,000 shops with 90 trucks in it. No wonder my shit from FedEx is 2 weeks late. My M44 carbine was supposed to be delivered last Monday. Didn't ship till last Monday. Then it said it was going to be here Friday. Yesterday it said it's delayed.
Well, here's the other thing.
I've got mine.
They've also got a 75,000 deficit for drivers because of expanded drug testing.
And we won't even go into the whole vaccine situation.
Yeah, so we
Or
have
the fact
legitimate
that,
charges that we could put on him. The problem is we still fall back on the order of secession, and the 4 or 5 names past his are worse. So we're stuck with him. We're absolutely stuck with him. Now I heard a funny
Well-
thing last night. People keep asking
Yeah.
Trump and his son, like people ask Trump directly, and then they ask his son about his father, will you run in 24? And he hasn't spit it out definitively. The closest thing he gave to an answer was, America's going to be very happy with what happens in 24. But yesterday, I heard a very strange name come up as a potential dark horse to take over the Republican Party. And I'm not necessarily opposed to it. And it wasn't Ron DeSantis. It was Senator Tom Cotton.
Cotton?
Yes. But I don't think we can sell Tom Cotton
I don't think
as a
you can-
commander-in-chief.
No,
Well, he was military.
Right.
the problem you're gonna get with him is it's not that he's a bad person overall, even though he's a politician. The problem is his last name. That's gonna get him.
That's right. Ain't no colored vote gonna pick Cotton.
Oh,
No.
God.
See? Tony got it. Tony got it.
No, you're right, because the voting public, it is funny, but the voting public is very peevish. You're right. They would hone in on something as stupid as that.
They
So,
would.
so then, okay, then we really should take a page right out of the leftist playbook. We should guilt them into voting for a candidate. Vote for the guy in the wheelchair, President Greg Abbott. If you don't vote for him, then you're whatever is, it's not racism, but you're against disabled people for not voting for the guy in the wheelchair. Huh?
Who?
My governor.
I could get behind Abbott.
I
Why
can
is
get
Abbott
behind
so
Abbott if his
different?
vice president was DeSantis or Tom Cotton. That'd be a powerful ticket.
No, why is Abbott in a wheelchair right now? Did he trip or something, break his leg or what?
No, he has a degenerative nerve condition that weakens his legs.
Oh.
He had an accident or something, and tell you what though, that man can shoot the balls off a fly at 100 yards. Like,
Yeah.
the dude is a good shot.
Huh.
Anyway, all right, so we've gone an hour. I'm going to go ahead and start getting into the stories of the day.
Okay, I'm sorry for going off on
No, it was fine. It was totally cool. I'm totally fine with all this. So I'm going to start with the elephant in the room, the Oxford High School shooting.
Oh.
So let's talk about the details. The gun was purchased on Black Friday. The son was present when the father bought the pistol. The pistol was 4 days old. When it got home, the kid took pictures with it and selfies saying, "Check out my new toy." It was a SIG SP 2022. Comes with two 15-round mags, if I'm not mistaken. When the police finally showed up 5 minutes after the call, he still had 7 rounds left in one of the magazines. Now the story has changed, saying he fired more than 30 rounds, so maybe he had more than 2 mags. This is my problem with this case. First of all, if you see a picture of the parents' mugshots, it almost looks like you could put the words, "the parent or the family that slays together stays together," because they all look like psychos. All of them. Like degenerate rejects. So they're now charged with involuntary manslaughter. There was a manhunt for them yesterday. Actually, it was called a bolo, be on the lookout for. But it's still a manhunt. They have returned, and they did come to turn themselves in. They were charged yesterday with involuntary manslaughter, so they're all in custody now. So there's several problems with this. Parents purchased a firearm to a minor, a pistol to a high school kid. That's the first problem. Do you call it a straw purchase? Do you call it an illegal purchase? That will be a
No,
ticky-tack
because
and one charge, for sure.
There's the whole gifting situation, but there's also the problem that they failed to teach the kid proper gun safety in the first place.
Sure. Okay. But
And-
you see what I'm
And
saying is,
also they're also responsible for the kid's mental health too. And
Yeah.
if he didn't if he needed help, he needed somebody to talk to, over a cup of coffee or soda or something, then it's their fault for not getting him the proper health care.
yes. And, we were all 15 once. think about what you were like when you were 15. Okay, you had hormones you didn't know what to deal with. You were probably chasing anything that gave you the time of day, and you were probably, if you were ugly with a little rat face like this little shit, uh, you probably got no action.
You got picked on. You got picked on.
You got well, they haven't played the bully angle yet. But the thing is like, he was probably one of those guys that listened to death metal and wrote bad poetry because you could just tell by his demeanor and the letters he wrote.
Sean, in most every situation of every school shooting in this country, the reason it happens, and it's been plastered all across the board. The reason it happens is because the kid was ganged up on by other kids.
Possibly.
That's why.
Possibly.
No, it's not possibly. We're probably going to find out that he was picked on a lot, or he was ganged up on by a group of kids who were scumbags.
Sure.
And they, and whether you agree that they deserve to die or not, they probably had it coming.
But the thing is he didn't target specific people in this attack. That's the problem. I mean, there's a very clear video of him walking down the hallway, knocking on doors that are locked, right? And he was like trying to convince people to unlock the doors. He was like, "Sheriff's office, it's all clear. You can come out now." And the guy was like, "We don't want to do that." And he was like, "I'm a county sheriff. I'm telling you it's clear. You can go ahead and open the door, bro." And as soon as he said bro, some dude who was filming was like, "Dude, he said bro. That's a red flag. Don't open the door." Like, he's right.
From what I understand of active shooter training, the teachers and law enforcement are supposed to have, like, a special code word that will identify them as law enforcement.
I'm not even going to try to pretend to know that, but the point is gun wasn't secure. Gun was purchased willingly and knowingly going to a minor who shouldn't have possessed it. Mom knew something was wrong with her kid because she texted the kid when the news broke that there was a shooting at the high school. Then she checked and found the gun missing. Then she texted and said, "Please don't do this," which means she knew what he was capable of. They're all accessories as far as I'm concerned.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just arguing they're also responsible for the kid not getting proper help.
Sure. So at the end of the day,
But again, I would argue that even the school's administration is at fault for letting it get to that point. In that child's teaching.
sure.
Because they didn't. If it was that many kids that ganged up on him that he decided to go after the whole school, that meant the problem was much larger than originally thought.
Well, the question that needs to be asked to an anti-gunner right now is, what gun control law can you come up with that you think could have prevented this? And they're not going to have an answer. They won't. They can't.
Well, no, their answer is just to ban everything and just let the government and the military have guns and law enforcement, nobody else.
Well,
that's their answer.
At the end of the day, though, there's no way to regulate this from happening. You can't stop evil. Look at England. You ban guns, they use knives. You ban knives, they use trucks. You ban trucks, they use axes. It's not the tool. It's the weapon is the individual. You gonna ban people?
Well, actually, technically, it's the individual. It's the weapon. Not just
right. The tool is just the implement to make it more efficient.
And unfortunately, it's because of our news system that we hear about this shit all the time. But we're every politician is lying to every person in this country, saying that before that this didn't used to happen in this country, which unfortunately he's spouting bullshit, because this stuff happened even back in the day before they had guns. It may not happen at schools because we've only had institutionalization for a set amount of time, but to say that nobody committed mass murder before guns were a thing is just to ignore history and say nothing happened before World War II. because indiscriminate killings, indiscriminate, mass murders or whatever you want to call them, they happen before guns. They happen after guns. And if you ban guns, they still happen with other weapons.
Right. You
Or
can't
tool.
you can't ban evil. That's what it boils down to.
Part of the deal with the change in the number of events happening is just logistic. I mean, 100 years ago, there wasn't the logistical possibilities of accomplishing things you can do today.
Yeah, schools were one room with maybe 15 kids in it.
The reason why people talk about it all the damn time is because we have a 24-hour news cycle now that covers everything. And back in like in your grandparents' day, they didn't have that. They had maybe the news you'd hear on the radio would be like an hour or two long, and that's it. That's all you got for the whole day.
My grandparents had fucking television.
I think mine did too, but that would have been one of the early ones.
3 whole damn channels.
My grandparents remembered at times before TV. Okay, so that's what I was getting at.
My dad grew up in times before TV.
So did my grandparents. So
I grew up in times before color TV.
That's racist.
That's racist.
It is what it is.
All right, enough of that shit. Let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move on.
I'm sorry for going on a tangent again. It's just it just irked me.
Nice strike. You just sit over there in your corner and shut up for a while.
This one's going to be a quick one, okay? But apparently, the mag ban in California continues. Yeah, the Ninth Circus, 7-4. The ammunition ban is still justifiable. So Gavin Newsom wins, and Freedom Week mags are probably the last ones you're going to get for a while. Shitty. Why?
Well, there is one sliver of hope.
Go on.
Okay. The New York mag ban is still in the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So there could be a sliver of hope that if it gets overturned, they could use that as precedent to get rid of California.
Okay, let me ask you this. I remember that before. It was a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't that over because now they're doing the abortion thing?
No, it's not over. It's just delayed.
They won't be over until like June.
Yeah.
Are they in recess, or was it we need to take some time with this, come back later?
They hear multiple cases a year. So
they
they schedule the next hearing for, a couple months from now.
They hear all these cases and they make their decisions at the end of the session, which is June.
Oh, okay. So there's this subject. They brought these people in, they listened to it, and then when they're done, there's another one later for the same subject. They come in later because they were scheduled later.
Yeah.
And then once all those are done, then they rule.
Yeah.
That seems very inefficient.
Well, it's the Supreme Court. It's inefficient as it gets.
Oh, listening to Sotomayor the other day talk about the abortion thing.
That's tough.
If you were the defense or the guy presenting this case, and she was talking about the separations of church and state and all that other stuff, right? Like, how do you fight the urge to scream into the mic, "You political hack, shut your fucking mouth"? Because, I mean, she was just spewing liberal talking points at that point. She was like, as far as I can see, nothing has really changed in the last 50 years to justify changing our decisions. And it's like, science has changed a lot in 50 years. Maybe if you didn't have your head so far up your ass, you'd notice that.
If nothing has changed in the last 50 years, then I guess you don't have a color TV, you don't have a cell phone, and and there's not this thing called the internet. Oh wait, there is. So things have changed.
Right, but it's like
TV was around 50 years ago.
Was different 50 years ago when they ruled the first time and the second time and the third time. You see what I'm saying? It's like what she just said is so easily debunked, and yet they didn't debunk her. Like, they could have publicly humiliated her, and they didn't. Opportunity lost.
That would look poor in the defense.
Jesus.
their case. So, yeah.
Living with folks with dementia, each one of them came in here one at a time to tell me that they were going out. I'm just like, fuck off.
Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way.
Yeah, like, fuck off. I don't care. Go do whatever you gotta do.
Are they still allowed to go out by themselves?
Yeah, I make them go out together, though, so if one crashes, they both die. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No.
All
No,
right,
No,
Sean.
he's not.
All right.
Sorry, it was a bad joke. All
I
right,
know,
so
I'm-
yeah, mag ban's still in effect. Just remember, you people in California, you voted for that shit. So I don't feel sorry for you. Sorry. There's 17 million gun owners in the state of California.
What
That's
the hell's your problem?
almost half the population of the state, and yet you still can't get rid of idiots that keep doing this to you. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm not
Anyway.
sorry.
Third story. I told you that was going to be a quick one. So the way I captioned this was Hollywood celebrities support their own ignorant and murderous kind, clearly proving that they still don't know shit about guns.
Shocker.
So let's talk about Alec Baldwin. Let's
I
talk
didn't pull
about
the trigger.
yeah.
I-
Let's talk
Bullshit.
about the
Pull the trigger.
inability to pull the trigger on a gun that had a live round in it. Now, this is a period piece series or movie, and as far as I know, the pistols used in this are percussion cap, which
Right.
means they
No.
aren't transfer bar.
No, they're single action.
Right. So, the thing that kind of bugs me is his interview with, what was it, Stephanopoulos or something? It was pathetic. His crying was fake. He spent like what 2 or 3 weeks in Vermont hiding, and it was so his wife could, like, I don't know, give him the highway delight enough times to build back up his confidence so she could fill him full of the lies he told on camera. Like, he really believes that he didn't have anything to do with this.
Obviously, he wants to get off.
So my question is when is he going to have a full brain CAT scan done? Because this guy's got CTE. Like, you can't say the things he says convincingly and believe it unless you have some form of brain damage. He's deranged. There's no
Or unless
way.
you're a way better actor than any of your past career has shown.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, he's not that good of an actor.
No, because he can't keep his cool. When he gets pissed, he loses it. He's like Tom
Lo-
Cruise on set. So
No, I think he's more like Mel Gibson. He loses it like Mel Gibson.
he didn't pull the trigger.
There's a voicemail message.
You know.
Yeah, that one was a good one.
I'm sorry, but a percussion cap gun doesn't go off unless you pull the trigger.
You have to
No
do
way
3 separate. Well, let's see.
You got to pull the hammer back. You got to pull the trigger.
No, you have to put a cap in the back of the
It
cylinder.
wasn't a fucking percussion gun. God damn it! It was a single action army clone.
Fine. Okay, so maybe it does have a transfer bar safety then, because the newer ones do. Either way, you have to still thumb back the hammer, which is longer, angled at a different angle, and taller to get at. So even if he was squeezing the bottom of the grip with his finger in the trigger, on the trigger, while he was pulling back the hammer, right? If he let go of the hammer, like if he did this one-handed and he let go of the hammer with his finger still squeezed down on the trigger, sear's disconnected. So of course the hammer would just drop and go off. But the way he described the whole situation, that didn't happen. I mean, he's trying to make it sound like, yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was holding the gun. No, I didn't do anything else with it. It just went off. Really?
It was a Remington.
Yeah, it's a Remington 700 with a bad safe. No, like, nothing he said makes sense. And the fact that the majority of Hollywood don't know shit about guns and how they work, and most liberal anti-gunners don't know how guns work, they bought it hook, line, and sinker, and now they're supporting him like he's the victim in all this. And what's really weird to me is Helena Hutchins' husband hasn't sought for damages. Like, he's just letting this happen. So,
Oh, he's got time.
well, okay.
Baldwin talks, the more he hangs himself out to dry.
I'm gonna reach for some Reynolds rap, and I'm gonna try to do my best E Honda impression here. Okay. What if he's in on it, like the death of Natalie Wood?
You mean he took a payoff?
No, I mean, what if we
Wanted his
find
wife
out
dead.
that Baldwin had a beef with this woman somehow, and formulated this grand accident just to get rid of her? Think about Natalie Wood, right? She was married to Robert
You
Wagner.
are getting into Honda territory now.
Yeah, exactly. But she was married to Robert Wagner. They were on a boat. Christopher Walken was there. Next day, she's dead. Name the only wood that doesn't float. Natalie Wood. Right? That's the old joke. You've got Helena Hutchins dead. Her husband's not seeking damages. And Alec Baldwin is trying to deny responsibility. It's gross. Anyway. If anybody hires that prick for a job for anything in Hollywood anymore, I hope you fail. I hope you commercially fail and just die.
If he wanted to get rid of her, he was an executive producer on that movie. He could have fired her in a heartbeat.
That's the thing. Firing her keeps her alive. I read that she was working on a project after this one about sexual abuse of women or something in Hollywood. Funny, right now Ghislaine Maxwell's on trial with the Epstein shit. And she was about to do this expose hit piece on sexual abuse in Hollywood. I'm just saying, like, invest in Reynolds rap, because this is getting into that territory, isn't it? Anyway. So this is a story that's going to actually irk Nightstrike a little bit.
Uh-oh.
The Sixth Circus were stuck 8-8 in a deadlock for the case of GOA versus Garland, which basically keeps bump stocks banned, don't they? Which means slide fire systems still can't sue for damages, can they?
No.
Because this stroke of a pen put an entire industry out of work. Those are designers, casters, logistics people, advertising people, manufacturers, tool and die makers. All those people for slide fire systems lost their job at the stroke of a pen, and they're not getting entitled to compensation for damages. Now, the big question I have is why does a circuit court have an even number of justices? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. It should always be an odd number to force something one way or the other.
And I'm surprised there's no way to get out of a tiebreaker. No one had thought of it.
Well, if it was a 15 panel, it would.
If a decision is, even with the amount of rulings, then there needs to be a tiebreaker. And the fact that they overlooked that is a flaw in the system.
What I suspect it is the number wouldn't matter because a judge can rule in favor or against, like a dissent, or they would just abstain completely from voting. No comment. So even if it was an odd number and it got down to justice number 15, he could just be like, no comment. So it goes 7-7. That would suck. I don't know. Apparently bump stocks are still banned. You don't hear about trigger cranks anymore, though, do you?
No.
Are those still out too?
I don't think they're banned. You don't hear about them.
I don't know. I think there's a better way to burn through ammo. Still banned.
It wasn't so much burning through ammo. It was just something to have fun, And that's all I did.
Well, with a KP9 with an ALG trigger and a belt loop, I'm just saying. Just saying. I don't know.
I'm considering getting that one for the AK.
So I think the next move is GOA has to take this to the Supreme Court now, right? For an
Yeah.
appeal?
Yeah, good luck.
I know, because they're already listening to a 2A case. And somewhere in between an abortion case. I didn't really want to touch on the abortion thing, but
I don't want to touch on it.
what I heard as a response to it was pretty good. Maybe you'll agree, but they said even if they make this change, right? Nothing really changes. It's not being outlawed. All they're saying is states get to choose whether it is legal or illegal. They're not saying blanket yes or no.
The federal government is bowing out of dealing with it.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't think people realize that. Some people are sitting there going, "Oh my God, it's if you rule this way, then it's going to be banned everywhere." It's like, no, there's already states that have banned it, and there's states that are okay with it, and they're just saying that you can't take it up to the federal court to decide. Let the state decide. That's all they're doing. Which is funny, because imagine this, okay? I'm going to tie this to a 2A case. If you're wondering why I went back to abortion. Let's say that the Supreme Court says, we're going to let the states decide. We're done with this. Don't bring this shit to us ever again. So it's the ruling that people who are pushing for this would get or would want, which means all the protesters would be angry, right? If they do that, then what my governor did with House Bill 957, I think it's 957, should stick, meaning Texas-made, Texas-designed, and Texas-sold suppressors don't apply to the NFA anymore. Let the states decide, right? Nobody thought of that. Nobody has thought of that angle. You want this abortion case to go to states' rights. Because as soon as it does, then you can take the suppressor bill straight to the Supreme Court and go, hey, fucker, how about this? How about this? We already passed it here. Why don't you just make it legit? Why don't you tell us that it's our decision? Because as soon as they say, yeah, we kind of have to do that one too, then it'll be the same thing. States will decide if they want to make suppressors. Suppressor prices come down. People's hearing improve. You're still not going to have Leon the professional walking around picking off people all day, right? That's what they're afraid of. First of all, Jean Reno's too old. He can't do that shit no more. He's probably retired. If you guys don't know who Leon the Professional is, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
I'm very familiar with that particular movie.
All right. So anyway, my last story of the day is more of a. This is for all of you guys, because this is like a round robin opinion thing I'm going to pose to you, and it's based off of the story here about the murder of Duante Wright. If you don't know the story, a female Minneapolis police officer, who happens to be white, drew her gun and shot Duante Wright during a traffic stop, killed him. They're saying that 9 of the 12 jurors seated are white. And some people are they're taking issue with this. And the question that I have to ask is, who do you blame for that? If a jury turns out that way, who do you blame? Because I'm gonna approach this at an angle that not many talk about. When you get a jury summons in the mail, the first thing most people do is throw it away. Act like they didn't get it. Some people take the time to actually call and say, I can't do this. I have a job that requires me to leave the state all the time. Or I can't do this because English isn't even my first language. Things like that. That's how my mom gets out of it, because she really doesn't. She's fluent in English, but not enough to want to make decisions that could affect someone's life. So she's always excused for it, right? My dad says I'm 86 years old and a diabetic and I can't move around very well. He gets out of it, right? I look at it and I just start talking in Korean and they just hang up on me. So anyway, the point is they keep talking about angry, you know, people about white juries being stacked with a certain race. And the question to me is why aren't you answering your jury summons if you're so worried about the ethnic background of the juries? What it's showing me is that the majority of people who take the time to answer the summons must be white. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that many to choose from now, would they? And then you still have to pass the jurors' interview. They'll ask you certain questions. I got called on a jury once about a shooting, and it was a self-defense shooting during a robbery. But the problem is the guy walked out of his front door, followed the guy he shot 3 houses down, and finished him off on the sidewalk. And they asked me gun questions. And I answered those gun questions, and they very quickly realized that I am very versed in firearms. And they said, "Thank you for coming, but we can't accept your application to be a juror at this time." And I thought, okay, fine, bye, you know. But I thought about that, and I'm like, if you got a problem with the diversity of the jurors, then what you ought to probably do is go on a national campaign to encourage minorities of any race, any background, any religion, any sexual preference, whatever, to take the jury summons more seriously. Like, enroll them in the idea that you are exercising your civic duties as a citizen of this country or the city or the state, right? Because if you flood the jury pool with diversity, because all these people answered the call, you've got a much better chance of having a diverse jury, don't you? Like,
Well,
even legal experts are, like, even as this story says, juries are usually diverse by race, gender, economic background. It's necessary to keep the bias down to a minimum. But the only way to do that is you shotgun the invite to everybody and hope that everybody answers it, so you can pick and choose like a diverse group.
true diversity is not going to work because if they were truly diverse, 18% of the jury would be black
Sure.
because that's their division of the population. That ain't going to be good enough.
So it's sort of like a mix between diversity versus affirmative action versus statistics.
It's just freaking racist. Is what it is.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that I think people can better the odds of a more diverse jury if more people answered the call when they get the summons. You know what I mean? Like, if a courtroom picks a jury, they're gonna pick based off of who showed up, right? It's not like they wanted to pick 9 white people. They just picked people because those are the ones that showed up. I mean, look at the Rittenhouse trial, right? Look at that jury. It's full of women, men, one person of color, right? They didn't find any racial motivation anywhere. Look at the I forgot the guy's name now, but look at the Ahmaud Arbery trial jury. That was
You're not
that was
making
somewhat
the connection.
diverse,
You're not making the connection with what I'm telling you.
huh?
If they got a truly diverse jury, there'd be less black on it than there is right now.
Oh, okay. Now I know what you're saying. If they did it by statistics, it would even make it worse.
Yeah.
Okay, now I get it. I get it now. Maybe they do have to have affirmative action rules for juries then. Like, it says, okay, we've got 12 here. We can only have this many women, this many men, this many of each diversity. But the problem with that setup is you may not have enough to fill in the blanks then. So it always falls back to the answer of, well, you better hope that you have enough people answer the call. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Nope.
Thank God. For some reason, all my gaggle of Yorkies decided that they wanted to start howling. I should have never taught them how to howl. I think it's cute and funny because it's coming out of such a tiny little animal, but when you got 6 of them doing it, oh, Jesus. All right, so Can we agree that the jury selection process would be better if more people would actually just show up to it? Is that
Yeah,
a fair thing to say?
more people showed up for it. More people actually, get charged on it.
Participated. And I'm the pot calling the kettle black for sure. Like when I get jury summons, the first thing I do is groan. But
Oh, no, no, that's what I do too. I groan, but unlike everybody else, I actually show up for it because, well, it's jury summons.
yeah,
So, but here's the thing: past like 4 or 5 times, I've showed up for jury summons.
yeah,
Either they made me wait and then dismissed us because they decided they take a plea bargain.
yeah,
The whole thing got canceled. And the time before that, they decided, they were, both sides were arguing over insurance, and to settle outside of court.
right.
And that one, the judge literally walked into where we're waiting and said, "Sorry guys, you're having to wait so long. It's just that both sides. It's an incident with a car crash. One guy ran into the other guy, and the front guy and rear guy are arguing over who's going to pay the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So whose company's going to pay for the insurance? And it's like because there's a 3-car crash,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, should he be telling us about this? I mean, but they're trying to settle it outside of court instead of having to go into court. And I guess the judge had to tell us something because it's just like we were sitting there for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, it's that's a write off of a day when you finally show up.
Yeah.
Like just forget the rest of your day.
They haven't even gotten to the whole jury selection at that point. We were just making us all wait beforehand.
Sure.
And uh, it's not that I didn't mind being there. It's just that the waiting is what kills you. Just sitting there waiting because you're not allowed to play with your phone. You're not allowed to do anything other than just
sit there.
Sit there. And it sucks when that happens, but that's kind of how jury duty is. Sometimes you get the high profile cases, and sometimes you get the everyday crap that happens in our justice system. And that's why jury duty is is as blind as the justice system itself.
You see, I wonder, would more people answer the call for jury duty if they knew what trial they were going to be in attendance of? Because, like, think about this, right?
No, because then it would affect the preconceptions of the case.
Yeah, I think you're right. Could you imagine you've been summoned to a jury summons for a small claims court case on a car accident involving 3 cars? And it's like, nah. Or if you get one that says, you have been summoned for the trial of O.J. Simpson.
Oh man,
Dude, the line would be wrapped around the building, right?
Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
the Enron scandal. Or did
Hold
Jeffrey
on.
Epstein kill himself? Stuff like that.
I have a statement to make on the Enron scandal.
It's been 20 years.
I do not recall.
It's been 20 years. I know the guy who bought the Enron logo that was on the front of the building. The one that was there was like a fountain built off of it, right? It was this big chrome 3-dimensional E.
Yeah, I remember
he
that.
Bought
thing.
that. $10.
$10.
He bought it for less than its scrap value.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
I was like, "What'd you do with it?" And he goes, "It's in my backyard." It's a yard ornament.
You know what? I can't argue on that. That's a great thing for it, right there. Yard ornament.
Yeah, I mean that's all it's good for.
That honestly, that is. But
it's like, how do you sell that on eBay? 3-dimensional chrome E, once owned by scandalous energy company. Shiny metal.
I miss when things were simple and funny like that.
Yeah. Then the internet came out.
And, no, the internet was still there.
Al Gore did it. Man Bear Pig is real. Super serially.
It is.
I'm serial, guys.
Man Bear Pig. Yep.
All right, so that's all the stories I have for today. So we'll go ahead and go into our final segment of, so what are you doing the rest of this weekend?
Who?
All 3 of you. Jump in one at a time.
I'm leaving here pretty shortly to go pick my son-in-law up, flying in from overseas to take him home. I'm the only one to fucking do it.
That's your whole day.
That'll be the rest of its day, yeah. Then
Scott?
tomorrow,
Thing I do every weekend.
Run around the shops and buy ammo. You should offer like $250 for one of those Dutch Beaumonts too.
No.
I can
have
make
no
you the
interest
ammo
in the
for it.
Dutch Beaumonts.
I can make you the ammo for it. I've already made like 50 rounds of it, so. I really need to shoot that thing. It's just, it's such a pain in the ass to carry because I don't have a rifle bag long enough that it fits in. I need like a 68-inch rifle bag for that thing. I don't know. I love looking at it though. It's cool. It's covered in dust now. That's one thing I hate about having rifles on the wall. Dust.
Dust. Yeah. I mean, you have to get out, clean. You have to take them off the wall and clean them every now and then.
Yeah. I usually take them off the wall and play with them, but, you know.
Everybody does. But
Oh, dude, it was freaking hilarious. My dad came in one day, and he looks at my wall, and, you know, he's got late-stage dementia, so his memory's not so good. Every time he looks at the wall, he goes, Jesus Christ, how many of these things do you have? I'm like, this is only about a third of them. And then he looks at me, he goes, are they loaded? On the wall? And I look at him, I'm like, well, they wouldn't be any good if they weren't. He's like, so they're all loaded? And I'm like, yeah, they're all loaded, chambered, safeties on them and everything. They're good to go. He's like, even those old musket-looking ones? I'm like, especially those.
so if you ever really get pissed off at Mom,
you should have just told him you were in the war. You know what it's like not to have a gun and not have it loaded.
You know, it's funny you said that. Like yesterday when I came home from work, he was watching Heartbreak Ridge. Or is that what it's called? Heartbreak
Yeah.
Ridge. That's not the Eastwood one. That was the Garfield one, right?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Heartbreak Ridge is Clint Eastwood.
Okay, what's the Garfield one?
I don't know.
The guy who wouldn't use guns and he became a medic and he kept bringing people down from Iwo Jima. It has the same name. It's like something like that. Anyway, that's the one he was watching. Spider-Man plays the main character in that one. The one-time Spider-Man. Either way.
Hamburger Ridge?
What's that?
Hamburger Ridge?
No, Hamburger Hill's a Vietnam War movie.
In,
I gotta look it up
in
now.
Pacific.
Huh?
In Pacific.
It takes place on Iwo Jima.
Yeah.
Damn it. I gotta look it up.
Yeah.
I have it here somewhere.
You are gonna have to look it up.
The hell is it called? See, if people were active in the chat, they could... Hacksaw Ridge! Thank you, Zorro! That's the one. Yeah, he was watching that.
Zorro's
And I was like, you're watching this again? He kind of looked at it, he goes, I kind of miss this shit. I'm like, he's 86 years old. And then I thought, wait a minute. You soldiers never die, do they? Like, it doesn't matter how old they are. Like, think of Gran Torino, right? Clint Eastwood played a character who was, I think, a Korean and Vietnam War veteran. I think so. He still had a Garand.
I mean, I'd like to think of Gran Torino as, you know, as Kelly who retired.
Garand Torino.
Yeah. Gran Torino. But
That was a pretty cool movie. I liked it.
He had a grand in that movie too. So.
The car was epic. The rifle was awesome. The attitude was perfect.
You know, I'd like to think of it's Kelly's heroes, Kelly, who retired and had children, and you know didn't teach them properly, and is pissed off.
Yeah. No, I did like it.
That's how I saw that movie, Gran Torino, because he played the type of character he played is like, what if he was a disgruntled old, you know, veteran like Kelly?
He plays that in all his movies now, though.
Yeah.
Cry
Yeah.
Macho, for instance.
Right.
The Mule. Shit,
Yeah.
even $1 Million Baby, if you really want to go back, but.
That far, Unforgiven.
Oh.
There you
See,
go.
when that movie first came out, 92, I remember there was a story on it about how that was going to be Clint Eastwood's swan song as an actor. and he was just going to focus on directing and producing afterwards. And I thought, man, what a way to go, right? Like, if that's your last one, that's awesome.
But it ended up not being.
It ended up not being the case. And then as he got older,
Because nobody financed one unless he acted in it too.
right? But it's
Exactly.
his production company.
I know, that's the funny part.
That's the funny part, right? It's like it's his company. He doesn't have to act in it. He's producing it.
But no one will finance it unless he does a little acting in it. You know, whether he makes a cameo or he plays an actual part. You know.
One of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies. It's Malpaso, I think is his company name. Was Hereafter, and it's not the kind of movie you would think that I would like. You know, I'm into what I call special effects porn. I like war movies. I like sci-fi, things like that, right? Hereafter was basically the John Edwards story. Matt Damon plays the lead character, right? Anyway,
I don't want to watch it now.
dude, that movie it'll break you. Like, emotionally, it'll break you. It's a good movie, though. It's like, he comes out with some really good stuff. And then, you know, what's really funny is he was originally, this is some fun trivia, by the way. Back in the Adam West versions of Batman, he was actually invited to play Victor Freeze, Mr. Freeze. And he turned it down because he was contracted with the Spaghetti Westerns at the time. But if you look at him today, how skeletal his face is, how naturally he can play the bitter, angry, savage beast, you know, in an old person's body. He would be the perfect Mr. Freeze today. Like, I had this fantasy of a Batman movie with Christian Bale's Batman with Clint Eastwood's Mr. Freeze. And that would have been epic. Like, you couldn't have Ben Affleck's version. I'm not saying he's not a bad Bruce Wayne. I think he's a great Bruce Wayne. I don't think he's a very good Batman. Very few characters.
I'm fucking glad he flew to Italy.
It's just, you know, for me, it's, if we talked about Batman, if we just did just an episode about Batman, it would be, which actor was both a good Bruce Wayne and a good Batman? And it's hard to say because, like,
I don't know. I liked Adam West.
he was very campy, but that was the 60s, wasn't it?
60s. That was the whole point.
It was supposed to be campy.
That whole thing was made for people on acid.
But it's like,
Knew he was doing a comic book TV series, so he just rolled with it.
yeah. It's just like you have, okay, Michael Keaton played kind of an okay Bruce Wayne, and he made a great Batman. And then, let's see, who was after that? Val Kilmer? Val Kilmer was a terrible Bruce Wayne and a terrible Batman.
Yeah.
George Clooney was a...
All we have to say about George Clooney is bat nipples. That's it.
Well, okay, but George Clooney was a good Bruce Wayne, but a bad Batman. Christian Bale was an epic Bruce Wayne, but a slightly over-the-top Batman. The voice thing that he would do, I didn't like that. And then you got, I just said his name, Ben Affleck. Perfect Bruce Wayne. Perfect looking Bruce Wayne. Kind of meh Batman. Like,
You
why
really
can't they
need
find
to
one who's
go-
good at both?
You really need to go back in history and look at the Batman they did back in the mid-30s.
Well, okay, so the animated Batman series was that, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
I loved that one. That was the one where Mark Hamill was the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mask of the Phantasm and, you know, the Batman cartoon series of the 90s and 2000s. Loved it. Very Art Deco, very dark. I loved that. Very noir.
The Batman shit they did in the 30s is something to see.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
It was another time.
Gregory Peck would have made a good Batman. He would have made a good Bruce Wayne too. I think that could work. Glenn Ford would have made a good Bruce Wayne but a terrible Batman. I keep forgetting his name. Do you remember the movie Run Silent, Run Deep Was that Burt Lancaster?
I believe it was.
He would have made a great Bruce Wayne, but maybe a good Batman too. Because he did this other movie where he was breaking out of a prison, and he was pretty savage in that. He might have made a good one. I don't know. All I know is, oh no, we can't have Tom Hardy because he was already Bane, right? Tom Hardy needs to be the next Bond. I'll fight anybody on that. We can't have Tom Hiddleston. He's too thin. Too thin. That's the only way I can say it. He's too thin.
Wasn't Clark Gable in Run Silent Run Deep?
Yep.
Yes, him and Burt Lancaster. I don't think he would have made a good either one though. He would have made a great Gomez Adams though.
You know, I would really like to have seen Humphrey Bogart do the whole Batman Bruce Wayne thing.
Nah, no way, dude. He's too
I don't
small.
think he would have done it good, but I think it would have been entertaining as all hell.
Yeah, but he's too small. He's a little guy. Like,
Sean.
he could have done a biopic of Yogi Berra.
Okay, we're getting off on a tangent.
I do like Humphrey Bogart as an actor though, for sure. It's just I don't think he would have fit the role, honestly. Neither one.
What
It
about-
would have been something to see, though.
What about Clark Gable as a Rachel Gould?
Yeah, oh yeah, because he was drawn that way in the cartoons.
Exactly.
That would absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going in the Wayback Machine for this, but yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. That would have been awesome.
That would have.
His
Clark
character was
who's
drawn in
Charlie?
much later though, right? Like he wasn't part of the original like.
He was part of the original stuff. It was done much later when they redid the whole imagining of Batman. But again, it's just like, you know, if they had it then, they should have used it.
Can we do a little bit of a
Shit, I
spoiler
gotta
talk
bail,
real quick?
guys. I got to bail. Catch you later.
All right.
There, Tony.
Have either one of you seen the new Hawkeye series?
Nope.
Not yet. I'm waiting on
It's okay.
it. Is it good or bad? Just tell me good or bad.
Epic.
Epic? Okay, so I'll go watch it.
Well, so when these series came out, like WandaVision and all those, I couldn't watch them until it was finished, so I can just marathon the whole thing. And I intended to do that with Hawkeye. I thought they were going to release all of them like a Netflix type thing where you get to just get them all. Not the case. You have to wait week to week. Frankie let me know this week that it's out. She said she put a screen capture in our Meme Vomit channel. And I'm like, wait, Hawkeye's out already? And she's like, yeah, 3 episodes already. So I watched them. And now I'm angry because I don't have the rest of it to watch. I have to wait like everyone else.
Yeah,
It's really
I'm
good.
s- I'm waiting for the movie that's probably going to bomb harder than any other movie this year.
Bomb harder than Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings.
Exactly. Yes.
What is it?
Bomb harder. That's the new Matrix movie.
Yeah,
Oh, the trailer looks pretty good.
I got to
trailer-
agree though.
the-
They waited
The
too
trailer
long.
does. No, not they didn't. They didn't. Okay. They waited long enough
Maybe.
because it, he doesn't look. He's not like with on a cane, and he can't do any sort of acting or any sort of stunts. He can still do some things. So yes, he's older, but again, that's the point.
Mm.
And I'm interested to see how they go at it from this point. But again, do I think it's going to be a good movie? No, because they had a chance to the 2 prior movies, which I don't want to admit exist, but 2 and 3 weren't that great.
All right, since we're talking about this, I need. Well, okay. Spoiler. Not really, but spoiler.
It's been 20 years, you guys.
No.
you
For
guys-
for the Hawkeye thing.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I can say about the Hawkeye series, I think it's epic, first of all. But
Yeah.
my opinion so far is Clint Barton is the only Hawkeye I'll ever accept.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. But watch it
Yeah.
anyway. It's fantastic. Love it so far. Movies that should have been made that haven't come yet, and it's probably too late. And I hate it because I really wanted to know how it ends. I need one more Hannibal Lecter movie. I need one more. My soul needs one more. And I've written half the script for it in my head. If you remember at the end of Hannibal, he chops his hand off, he escapes on a plane, he feeds a little Asian kid part of a brain, part of Ray Liotta's brain, and then he calls Clarice Starling while he's somewhere in South America, right? And he says he's having an old friend over for dinner, and he walks off into the distance, right? There needs to be a movie that picks up right after that event to an international manhunt, and either the death of Hannibal Lecter or the capture of Hannibal Lecter or the wounding of Hannibal Lecter and he dies back at the ruins of his ancestral home back in, was it Lithuania or something like that? Romania? Because if you ever saw Hannibal Rising, you got to see why he became what he became. Because these Russian soldiers killed his sister and ate her. Because they were starving, right? It would be, let's bring this all back full circle, and the international manhunt chases him back to his ancestral home. And maybe he even puts on Lady Murasaki's suit of armor that she took care of. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. But I could just see that they either capture him, or he gets shot, and he dies like at the ruined fireplace of his original childhood home. What's left of it or something. I need that. My soul needs conclusion of that story before Sir Anthony Hopkins passes of old age. He's the perfect age to finish it right now.
So you didn't like Red Dragon?
No, I loved it. It's just if you go chronologically, the order of the movies was supposed to be Red Dragon, followed by Hannibal Rising, followed by Red Dragon, followed by Silence of the Lambs, followed by Hannibal, right? That's the order, chronologically. I need an ending. Him walking off to go kill somebody else is not a proper ending. You're either going to capture him, kill him, or he's going to get away forever. I think killing him off would be fine as long as you do it very dramatically in a very meaningful place at the end of the series, his childhood home. Because remember, they were like practically royalty. And then their castle was destroyed or whatever, right? Because of the war. And then they had like this log cabin thing, and that's where he and his sister tried to survive until the Russians came and killed her and ate her. And I love the fact that he goes and he kills all the remaining people of that crew in Hannibal Rising. He kills that one in like Canada or Michigan or something. He drives like an old 1940s Cadillac or some shit, and I was like, I love that. Loved it. I even think they picked the right guy for it, and good God, you know I don't have a thing for Asian women, but Gong Li was beautiful in that movie as Lady Murasaki. Holy crap. Like, bite the back of your hand hot. We're gonna hire a Chinese actress to play a Japanese woman. Fine. Fine. Whatever.
Like, okay.
She made it work.
She made it work.
She did things. She raised my pulse, so...
Oh, God, that's bad.
Alright, so... Anyway, I'm going to start playing this, because we have run 2 hours. I'm going to thank you all for taking the time to watch. I'm going to thank my panelists all for being here. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're a regular here, welcome back. Either way, maybe check out my other playlists, see if my other interests may be of interest to you. If you know somebody who would like to join the server or be part of the show, hit me up at the email in the description below. As for now, I think we're done here, and I think we had a great show. So thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all next week. Later.